Welcome to the Stellar Counselor podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Mimko. The Stellar Counselor podcast looks to shine a light on some of the common questions and concerns that come into my counseling office. I look to provide a counseling lens through big topics like gaming, screen time, cyberbullying, and many other issues that intersect between our children's mental health and technology. Today, I want to dive into the content kids are consuming with their screen time. Duration of screen time is the one metric that is constantly shouted at the top of every expert's lungs as the arbitrary red line in the sand. However, I will argue that the content they are consuming is far more important. When kids are using a tablet or a smartphone, they tend to divide their time between two forms of media: streaming videos or gaming. Within gaming, we can break it down further to big platform games like Minecraft, Roblox, or Fortnite, and phone app type games like Candy Crush or Subway Surfers. If you are a parent, maybe you've heard of some of these games. Maybe you've even played some of these games. Today, we are going to zoom in on the big three platform games: Minecraft, Roblox, and Fortnite. We will first cover a brief overview of each game, define some terminology, and then explain the similarities, and then we will really get into the differences. There are two primary goals today. The first is to offer general knowledge and education of the games your child is spending the majority of their time playing. And the second is to offer some practical tips on how you can arm yourself as a parent with the tools to ensure your child's safety while playing these games. Okay, let's start by giving a brief overview of each of these three games. Minecraft is what we would call a sandbox game. And that is kind of just what it sounds like. It's a really open world where your child is allowed total creativity to do what they want with the tools that are provided by Minecraft. The focus is really on creativity, and as the game kind of progresses, there are some story modes. There is an online component, which we will get into later. But really, when it comes out of the box, it's a world for your child to explore and build. With Roblox, you can kind of think of it like as a Netflix for games. It's a service where you come in and you can see many different games that you're then allowed to stream right on to the platform that you're using, whether that's a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer. It's content that's created by other users for your child and other users to then play. They're not games that are created by, say, Microsoft or Nintendo. They're games created by independent developers. And with Fortnite, it's kind of set up like a battle royale where 30 users are placed into one world together, and then it's a battle to the finish. Last one wins. As your character dies, they are removed from the game. There's some building component to it, but it's more of like building like a base to protect yourself or to defend yourself from the other players, or to hide yourself in and surprise other players. So there's a different dynamic to Fortnite than, say, to Minecraft when it comes to how the building component is set up. So moving along, I kind of want to keep this focused on how this impacts your child and their mental health. And so I'm going to look at the similarities between these three games and maybe how I look at the games as a counselor and what may be useful as you as a parent when you're talking to your child, and how you can maybe connect with them and their games and maybe even understand their world a little bit. So the first thing to do is really look at the similarities between these three games. Why did these three games kind of become the big three amongst gaming in youth and gaming across the board on these platforms? One of the biggest draws is the use of the avatar. An avatar is your visual representation of yourself online. You have the ability in all three of these platforms to customize your avatar with clothes, gender, your hair, your face, with different weapons, sometimes even with different accessories. And it really allows for a lot of creativity for a child to express themselves in ways that they may not be able to express themselves in real life. And as players progress in some of these games, they unlock different accessories or different colors, and it is a way to display to other gamers the progress that they've made throughout their experience. An avatar is a great entry point to exploring your kids' interest and fascination with a particular game, but it's also a great way to explore how they may express themselves if they're uncomfortable expressing themselves in another way. Getting them to explain to you why they may pick a certain accessory may open up a window to how they view themselves, or why they may not be able to do that in, say, the real world. Another big similarity with these three games is the social aspect. In particularly with Fortnite, there's a lot of collaboration that can occur. In Minecraft, generally speaking, you're collaborating to build something together, whether that be a base or whether that be to go on an adventure together. You might be playing together just to participate together in a game. Fortnite is kind of a similar situation. It really is battling to the end together, and then it's last one wins. But these three games have a chat, and or whether it be through texting online or whether it be through voice, which does introduce a level of risk, which we will address later. But the collaboration component and the social aspect is something that really does draw kids to the games and really does make them feel like they have socialization that maybe they aren't feeling like they're getting elsewhere. And so when we are looking at gaming and we're looking at why a kid may feel so particularly drawn to a game, it really is important to understand how attached they may be to this social component and to why it's important to them before we look at, say, just banning games as a blanket statement. Another similarity is the cross-platform. Cross-platform as a phrase means these games are available on multiple different platforms. Now, if you were to think back as a kid, if you wanted to play Mario, you had to have a Nintendo. If you wanted to play Sonic, you had to have a Sega. These types of games are available on every platform. So if you wanted to play Fortnite, you can literally play it on a Switch, you can play it on the computer, you can play it on the Xbox, you can play it on a smartphone, and that's like that for all of these games. As long as you have internet access and a hardware like a smartphone or a tablet or a computer or an Xbox, you can play the game. And that makes it really accessible, and that makes it easier to participate in these social aspects of the game where you don't feel excluded because you don't have the particular gaming system that maybe you couldn't afford. And then the other similarity is these games are targeted towards, or at least made available through their marketing to youth by maintaining a cartoonish look. The gore is gone. There is no blood. When a character dies, they simply vanish. And that maintains ratings that are 10 plus or 8 plus. While there is fantasy violence, which shows up in the ratings, there isn't any body parts being cut off and blood anywhere. There's nothing like that. And again, that is to maintain ratings and to maintain a level of availability to children and to youth to make it accessible. All right, let's dive into some of the differences here, because this is where things get interesting. This won't be exhaustive, but this will give you kind of a flavor of what each of these three games kind of brings in their differences. So Minecraft came out in 2011. It's primarily available on PC, Xbox, and you can also get it on smartphones. On PC, it's called Java Edition, and then on smartphones, it's called Pocket Edition. that really won't matter too much until your kid starts to get further into the game and starts kind of making modifications. The game was created by Mojang and then it was bought by Microsoft. Microsoft now really does keep the development pretty tight and kind of consistent and tries to keep it pretty available across the board. Microsoft has major contracts with most education institutions across North America, and Minecraft has found its way into a lot of schools and is used as an educational program, including within my kid's school district. At the younger ages, as you either choose to expose your kids to gaming or if they decide to pick up gaming, you can kind of think of Minecraft as kind of digital Lego. First, it's more of a pixelated game, so it doesn't have that kind of smooth kind of finish to it. It's kind of block art, and whether that's intentional or not, it does kind of make it look almost more childlike in the sense that you kind of take blocks and you kind of build things with those blocks. And it's really kind of a bridge between the real world and the virtual world. And the game can kind of be set up as this creative mindset with endless possibilities for exploration. So your child will kind of go in, they kind of create a map, they can create something using an option called a biome. And a biome might be an Arctic tundra or it could be a jungle. And the world will then populate with all of these trees and this flora and fauna from that particular biome. And then they're off and they're exploring and they can go and find different animals, and there's different types of minerals, or they have to go find a diamond. What they'll eventually learn is combining different minerals together to create something else, which then shows some problem solving skills. As they kind of progress, you go from this creative mode into something called survival mode, and then the characters that are in the game can start to kind of attack your character. You then have to start eating food in order to maintain your health. And that is a feature you can then turn on or off depending on where your kid is at with their comfort level. Again, in another progression, there's something called mods. And mods are user-built modifications to the game where you then go and download it, install it into the game, and then it kind of creates a new feature that sits inside of the game that's not developed by Microsoft. There are certain rules with how these modifications get created, and it is a really large community of creating some pretty interesting things. I've seen things where it's Harry Potter's castle that gets created, or you might have something like a Disneyland theme park that is created, and then your child can go and explore that. The current ESRB rating right now is everyone 10 plus, and that's due to the fantasy violence. There is no blood, there is nothing gory. When you attack something, it just simply vanishes. There's also the online component. There are parent controls, but due to the fact that there is fantasy violence and the online component, it is rated at everyone 10 plus. When we look at the parent controls, this is a critical difference within Minecraft relative to the other two, and it really becomes important if and when you decide to consider online access. Minecraft out of the box isn't connected online. Generally speaking, you're paying extra to have access to the online community, whether that be through Game Pass on the Xbox or whether that be even paying for something called Realms inside Pocket Edition or even Java Edition. When you go to make changes to the parent controls, you actually are taken to a web link that sits on the internet on the Microsoft platform. And from there, you have to create a Microsoft family account that is linked to your child's Minecraft account. The controls that you're looking at are around privacy with communicating and interacting with other users online. This is around chats or whether friend requests kind of exist. And it's really important to kind of monitor that as you as a parent decide how much interaction and when your child is ready to have that kind of interaction with other users online. Realms has something called servers, and a server, it would be where you would come on into a other user's world where you are allowed to build within that person's world. So you're no longer sitting on your own computer creating and saving your world on there. You're creating it on another user's computer from your own. This is something to be wary of in the early stages, especially with younger users, because if your child is on another child's server and their build, the house that they built, gets destroyed, there is no saving it, there is no undoing it, it's gone. And child may not understand that and may not understand what occurred there. And now you're being asked to intervene in an online situation that you may not really understand as well. So once you enter into the space where things are now residing online, it becomes a little bit more complex for how to manage your child's mental awareness for what is actually occurring. You can probably kind of think of servers as your child is playing on the cloud, and there is no guarantee on ever maintaining what they're creating because it's not theirs. There is a really neat ability to create a friends realm where you can create a server and have up to only 2 of your own friends associated with it. This is really helpful with respects to having a sibling or maybe a cousin or a really close friend, and it's contained where no one else other than those 3 users are allowed on it. This is a really great entry point to the collaboration component, where your child is allowed to then collaborate with that sibling and create a world together when a conflict does occur, and whether maybe a sibling does destroy another sibling's build. You can start to manage it from that side, which is quite interesting when you're doing conflict resolution for an online battle between 2 siblings. But it is some important skill building, and it's a way to do it in a much more contained manner. And it allows them to have that online experience in a much more controlled manner. So really, from a youth perspective, really 12 and under, 11 and under, those are really the key points to really be concerned about with Minecraft and the differences from Roblox and Fortnite. Now let's move on to Roblox. Roblox actually has been around longer than the other two. It's been around since 2006 on the PC, and it came to smartphones on the iOS in 2012 and the Android on 2014. But it really didn't get going until COVID happened in 2020, and it just exploded with youth. The big draw with Roblox is, again, the accessibility. You can just get onto a smartphone or a tablet, and there are infinite games available. And there's just many different game formats. And as I said earlier, it's kind of like a Netflix of games. You don't have to download these games, and they don't sit on your hard drive. So you don't have to take up space. You don't have to wait for them to download. You simply go onto the game, and the game is streamed right onto your platform. Roblox has many different types of genres or game formats available, but it's really kind of coalesced around 4 or 5 that have really gotten quite popular. The biggest ones around are games, they're called obbies, town and cities, RPGs, adventures, and the horror genres. Starting with kind of the obbies, which might be an unfamiliar term for most. You can kind of think of it kind of like Mario, where you kind of are on that 2D platform where you're kind of going sideways and you're jumping over things and from platform to platform and trying to get over obstacles and go under things and just trying to stay alive. That's really what an obby is. And in the Roblox format, everything is kind of in a 3D world. And so you're kind of really going around a map and trying to either stay on path and jumping over things, not trying to touch a certain color. And when you do, you go back to the last checkpoint that you had crossed. Right now, the big game is Tower of Hell. It's kind of like a randomly generated obstacle thing, and their catch line is, can you be the first to top in this randomly generated obby with absolutely no checkpoints at all? And it's just a really difficult, complicated obby to get to the top. And that's the addictive quality of it. And that's the fun part of it, is how far can you get, and challenging you to see if you can get to the top. And it's a game it's really available to everybody. The next type of format is, they're called Town and Cities. And these are really popular with kids. The two big games are Brookhaven and Meep City. These types of games are kind of like The Sims, where you're kind of like driving around and you can buy houses, you can buy different cars. You're really just exploring a world and looking around and seeing what's really there. These types of worlds often recreate real world settings because the developers are users and they're using the Roblox platform to develop these types of worlds. They can really create like accurate depiction of, say, a McDonald's store. And then you can literally walk in and walk through McDonald's and pretend to order some fries. And these kids can really be imaginative in how they kind of go through the world. But also, this is where you can kind of see they can buy a Lamborghini and they can buy a big house and they can have the big pool in the backyard. And it's just really kind of like a fantasy type living in these cities. Brookhaven and Meep City are both all ages, really popular again with kids. Brookhaven's tagline is a place to hang out with like-minded people and role play, own and live amazing houses, drive cool vehicles, and explore the city. Be whoever you want to be in Brookhaven. And Meep City is the game that is powering imagination, chat, play, games, earn coins, and customize your very own estate. Again, these two are the most popular. Then you kind of have something called RPG games, which are called role-playing games. The big one here is called Adopt Me. This is a game where you get to adopt different pets, and you take them and you kind of take care of them and you watch them grow, and it's about collecting the biggest, the most prettiest pet you can, and you kind of play with your friends. It's very kind of social. You can trade your pets. It's one of those types of games, really kind of wholesome kind of a game. It's an all ages type of thing. You can also, again, like Brookhaven, very similar to Brookhaven in the way too. You can get your dream home, have your pets kind of playing around in there, and really accessible to everybody. Another type of a game is called Blocks Fruits, which would be more of an adventure game. And this is kind of now where we're progressing into a little bit of the older type of games, and this is a 9+. And we'll get into the age thing shortly here. Here is where you're now exploring, and there's a little bit more fighting, and there's tough battles with just a little bit more complex violence. And along the same lines, they have something that's really popular in Roblox is the horror genre. And it's a lot of like, can you escape this house with really scary characters coming after you? The big game right now is a game called Piggy. Again, it is 9+, but this character kind of looks a little bit scary. It's got a baseball bat with some spikes on it. The thing about these types of games and what we kind of see with kids who are 7, 8, 9 who may get exposed to them is they do tend to have nightmares. And it does tend to be around these characters chasing them. And when they aren't playing them, the nightmares go away. When they are exposed to them, the nightmares show up. So it's really being cognizant of what your kid is playing, where they're getting access to it, and paying attention to the frequency of the nightmares. Moving on to the part here with Roblox and the difference from Minecraft and Fortnite is the parent controls. Roblox has something that's built in, unlike Minecraft, and they have in the parent controls function and settings, they have something called the parent pin. And the parent pin has to be turned on, and then once that's turned on, nothing can be changed unless the pin's put in. And so you get to set the pin to whatever you want. So as long as your kid doesn't know what the pin is, they can't go in and change the settings to allow all access to everything. So that's the first step, is turning on the parent pin. From there, you want to go in and make sure that you check allowed experiences, and depending on the age of your kid, but you probably want to start with all ages. All ages is like G rated movies, or E for everyone for games. These types of games have been determined by the Roblox staff that they are appropriate for anyone to play. You're not going to see any of these scary characters. You're not going to see any blood. You're not going to see any of that type of thing. That's going to kind of sit in the 9 plus and the 13 plus kind of categories. But one of the things to be wary of with Roblox is games are created by users and then they're uploaded into the Roblox world. The games are kind of created faster than the games can be vetted by Roblox. And so what can then happen in that situation is some games do slip through the cracks. Now, the games that do show up on your kid's screen as what's available to play when they're kind of searching through things really are only the most popular games. So it's pretty rare for a really inappropriate game to slip through the cracks unless they're actively searching out a game that maybe they heard from elsewhere that has just been published that hasn't quite received its rating of 13 plus. So that's a lot of what ifs to get to a point where they may inadvertently get exposed to a game that has not been rated yet. But that is still a risk that is on Roblox and that has occurred, and you may find some articles online where this has occurred. Another area within Roblox is spend restrictions. You can attach a credit card to Roblox, and you are going to probably want to monitor that because Roblox has an in-house monetary system called Robux. You buy Robux with real money, and then with Robux, you can then buy add-ons within each game. And that is how users who create content then get paid by Roblox. At some point, your child will want to ask you for some Robux, and then that's going to introduce a conversation around that. But without having spend restrictions turned on, and if your credit card is attached to the account, your child will be able to buy Robux whenever they want. So this next part is not sitting in parent controls, it's in its own thing, but you are going to want to go into it as well, and it is privacy settings. Privacy settings cannot be changed if the parent pin is turned on. Privacy settings, these are kind of similar to the ones where we talked about in Minecraft. They are really about account restrictions, friend requests, messaging other users. And so this is really an area where we want to make sure our kids are protected, and we want to make sure that our kids aren't communicating with other users, or we want to at least be monitoring and understanding when it is appropriate to allow our kids to be doing that. That is where you can go in and do that, and when you feel it's appropriate to make those decisions. Let's move on to Fortnite. Fortnite was developed by Epic Games in 2017 and is available on all platforms, similar to Roblox. The big thing with Fortnite is it also has different game modes. The first one that came out was Save the World. It was a collaborative team up against a team of zombies and see if you can survive in each world. They then developed something called Battle Royale, and this is where Fortnite really took off. 100 players were thrown into a ring, different world, and you battled each other until one remained. This is where Fortnite still thrives, and this is where most players tend to play at the moment. Fortnite also just recently released Lego Fortnite. This is to cater to the younger crowd and also to compete with Minecraft. It introduces Lego into the Fortnite world, so kind of a block brick type mentality similar to the pixelated Minecraft. And again, it targets the younger audience. There's not zombies and anything like that. It's collaborative. And then they have kind of the creative mode where you can go around building things similar to Minecraft, but it's just not really that popular. When people think about Fortnite, they're not really going into it to create. Users and gamers, when they come to Fortnite, it's really about this battle royale. The biggest difference with Fortnite compared to Roblox and Minecraft is the emphasis of the online component. It really encourages communication via chat or a headset communicating verbally. Similar to Minecraft, though, the violence is not gory. There is no blood. They use the term fantasy violence. Once you die, you just disappear. But the communication could be problematic. You are talking potentially with strangers. I mean, if you are in a game with 100 players, this isn't 100 of your friends that you're talking with. This is 100 users across the world that are playing online. The communications generally are unfiltered. They could be talking about anything. You just really don't have a lot of control over what's going on in that kind of sense, if you allow access to that component. And that it really is where kids are pushing for when they play Fortnite. They want the headset and they want to be able to talk to their friends and play together and socialize. So what can parents do when their children want to play Fortnite? Because in and of itself, the game really isn't that problematic. It's really this online component that can become problematic. So when a user joins Fortnite and they sign up to play, if they're under the age of 13, Epic Games will immediately create something called a cabined account. And the term a cabined account means they've put the user into a silo, and it immediately disables a lot of different features to protect the child from these online aspects like voice chat, text chat, purchasing different items with money. And before a child can be removed from this cabined account, they need consent from a parent. There is really no way for a child under the age of 13 to move beyond the cabined account without consent from an adult. Similar to Roblox, Fortnite uses the pin system. In parent controls, you can create a pin, and with that, you can protect the different privacy and content settings, which will prevent your child from turning on text chat, turning on voice chat, or different features. This is the area where you really want to be paying attention to. Who is your child talking to on the internet? There is a filter for mature language if that is what you're concerned with. You can also prevent them from adding friends to their friend list or actually being added to others' list. There is restrictions around purchasing settings. In games like Roblox and Fortnite, there's a lot of customization on the avatar and customization on the different tools and instruments that can be used within the games. And those often are where you use real money to purchase. And so if your credit card is attached to, let's say, Google Play or Xbox Live, it's really easy for a kid just to start buying different things online, and they may know, but they may not know, and all of a sudden they've spent $300 on your credit card. It's really easy to go in and change a setting, turn all that off. Similar to Roblox, there's a content restriction. They use the term called experience, and similar to Roblox, every experience has a rating. They got everyone 10 plus, and teen. Ideally, you would go in at the start, you would set it to everyone. It would be kind of an all ages types access. And as your child progresses and as you feel they've matured, you can then progress them through the different experiences. Fortnite has one aspect that's a little bit different than Roblox and Minecraft. They have an in-house playtime tracking. You can have third-party type tracking on your child's devices, which is always a really good tool to have. But you can receive reports on specifically how much time they are playing Fortnite. You can't restrict how much time they're playing Fortnite within Fortnite, but you can receive information about how much time they are playing. In summary, we covered the similarities and differences around the big three video games kids under 13 are playing these days: Minecraft, Roblox, and Fortnite, with an emphasis on educating parents on the type of playing content that are in these games and what kind of parent controls are available to parents today to protect their kids. As I like to say, the duration of screen time is often not the problem. It's the content and context of the screen time. As a parent, I encourage you to educate yourself on the nuances of each of these three games. Please reach out to me on Instagram at the Stellar Counselor. That's counselor with two L's. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing your feedback.